So I always had this idea for a Godzilla comic or movie or what have you, and this would be kind of the story I would want to write. Um, as you guys know, it's no stranger I'm a giant Godzilla fan, and I've had several stories in mind. In fact, I've talked about several of them here, like Godzilla during during Vietnam or the Korean War, or like stories involving Godzilla's other monsters out doing their own thing. I've had a few. And this is one I was like, God, this would be the one I would love to talk about. Like, this is one I'd really love to do as its own thing. So, yeah. So this story basically it does involve Godzilla, but it's more takes the political ideals of, like, Minus One and Shin, and focuses not on, like, the government or, army. The main focus is G-Force. And I know what you're going to say, but Heisei was all about G-Force, right? Like, it was just that's all it was just G-Force, G-Force, G-Force. That's true, but we kind of moved away from that with, like, G-Graspers and things like that. And this one is kind of taking those aspects and applying to all the fantastical shit, those hard political aspects, and applying them to this idea of G-Force, to all the wackiness and insanity that comes with G-Force. So that's kind of what this is. So the story basically is that G-Force is, they've been fighting Godzilla for a long time. And I would even have it that in this continuity, G-Force has basically been at war with Godzilla since 1954. Like, even have it in this continuity that the oxygen destroyer didn't kill Godzilla, it just severely wounded him and just left him incapacitated for several months until Godzilla, raids again. And this led to G-Force being formed in this continuity to combat not just Godzilla, but also other kaiju as well. So in this story, we basically follow the Japanese government of how they got G-Force in a realistic sense. And that is a lot of money put to Japan from the UN. Basically, Godzilla was, you would have to think realistically, they would think after killing Godzilla, the rest of the nations would be like, all right, problem solved, we ain't got to deal with it. What, he's still alive? So the idea is that Japan basically spoke to the UN and said, hey, we're the only people who think we can kill this thing, and we need more money to do so. We have some ideas, we need to study and stop him. So that would be the story, is that the UN has been funneling money, like a shit ton of money, to Japan to send into G-Force to help them build new weaponry, research and development, things like that. G-Force becomes an international thing, but it all goes through Japan. That was kind of the deal, is that Japan, because there's a reason for it too, of why Japan has all this hold over the UN in this scenario, because they're the only ones who claim they can find a way to kill Godzilla, or at least stop him, and they can bypass UN laws and whatnot to do so. As much as other nations don't like that, especially America would have a major problem with that. And the reason being is because that was the plan. In here, it basically revealed that the UN had to acquiesce all of this to Japan, and Japan, at first it was the intention of battling Godzilla, but now it's like, after 9 years of being on the backbone or the heel of the rest of the nations after World War II, Japan basically saw an opportunity to get some power back. And that's how they did it. In this continuity, they became a faster, more independent nation than they did beforehand. The U.S. occupation ended faster this time around. The Japanese economy grew stronger, and they still abided by the self-defense force, but now they applied, weapons that would be under G-Force's jurisdiction. that was kind of the differentials that, hey, we'll let you build weapons, but the JDF doesn't get these, G-Force does, because that's meant for fighting Godzilla. But Japan's like, oh, but like the military helps us the JDF helps us fight Godzilla. You know, we got to give these weapons to them too. Does this all sound familiar? Let me just ask you that. Like, does all of this like sound familiar to you? If you've guessed that this is my comment on how the Israeli government, jerks around the U.S. and the rest of the United Nations, maybe you can interpret that. Yeah. So the other major thing is that there's another major revelation in this story, is that Godzilla, they know they can't kill him. Like the G-Force and the Japanese government knows they can never kill, like they've already done the research. We can't kill him. And also, we don't want to kill him. Even if we found some way, some kind of miracle way to finally kill him, we're not. Because there's several reasons why Japan wants to keep Godzilla alive and keep this perpetuation. Because again, they're getting all this money, they're getting all this funding, this research, and they have so much say in the U.S. now, in the UN. They have all this like political sway in the government now, on the global government now. They also keep Godzilla alive for a few other reasons, not just because of their own pettiness, but also because Godzilla's a deterrent. And what I mean by that is they're well aware that like they can fight off monsters. They can, and obviously this would be a world of not just Godzilla. This would be a world of other kaiju as well. But in here, it's a world of other kaiju, and it's very clear that while mankind can fight them off, Godzilla's really the only one who can stop them if they get out of control. Especially, he's a deterrent for cosmic monsters. Like, I don't really think Anguirus is going to hold his own against King Ghidorah now, do you? So, when it comes to, or alien invasions, the Japanese government needs him, and low-key the rest of the world needs Godzilla to keep alien, cosmic threats, alien or kaiju, off the world's back. He's literally been their only line of defense against it. Furthermore, the other major thing is that he's not only a deterrent for aliens and kaiju, the Japanese government used Godzilla as a deterrent against enemies. Yeah, it's really hard for a nation to get picked on by North Korea and China when there's a giant radioactive dinosaur circling around the oceans of Japan, and if you drop a missile on him by accident, he's gonna kind of take it personally. So yeah, that's the other. It's another reason of Japan has gotten so powerful is because North Korea and China can't come near them, and Russia can't come near them, and the U.S. can't basically bully them or give any political sway against the Japanese government, because Godzilla is that much of a threat. But he's also used as a big political shield and physical shield because, like I just said, it's really hard to try to take over a country or influence a country when one missile that you were firing at that other country drops on his head, drops on the giant radioactive monster's head, and he figures out that you fired it. So yeah, that's it. Now, would the Japanese government allow Godzilla to attack? Would they fight off Godzilla or try to help China or North Korea in a battle with if Godzilla made landfall in their country? I would have it that yes, they still do, but it's more we own you now, bitch. That's kind of what it would be. Now, would it be turned to nationalism? That would be also another thing I'd like to really play with in this scenario. Is talk about nationalism, government funding, and wartime profiteering and other things. Kind of talk about all the real shit in the world. And I don't want to see anyone say, "Oh, you're making Godzilla political." Motherfucker, have you not seen the 54 movie? So I'm just kind of taking my comments on war profiteering, political gains and structure, and everything else, and throwing it into this story with a big fucking lizard, and also involve why does also throw it into a story with a giant mecha Godzilla. That would also be like a great moment where they're like explaining building Mechagodzilla, where in this continuity, it would be that Mechagodzilla was built from, at least Mechagodzilla 2. Mechagodzilla 2 was built from reverse engineering not Mecha King Ghidorah, but the original Showa Mechagodzilla that Godzilla in one story would destroy. G-Force recovered it and reversed engineered it into Mechagodzilla 2. Then Mechagodzilla 3 would be, bolstering that kind of level of cybernetics too with Kiryu. So, yeah. But that's really just kind of my idea on a whole. And talk about all these like other meanings behind it, and at the same time, watch a giant lizard fight a giant robot version of himself. There you go. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of this idea? Do you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. I know it's a bit out. It's not really out there, and it's more darker than. It's kind of taking the dark political stuff of like I said, -1 and Gojira and a few other more mature Godzilla films, and throwing it in the wackiness that is like the Showa and some of the Heisei elements and some Millennium too. But anyway, just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time, Multiverse.